Hey everybody, it's my birthday! Whoop-de-doo. To celebrate, I'm going to talk about one of my favorite movies. Wait! We've already reviewed this movie! Yes, I have already reviewed this movie. However, I want to talk about one particular element, and one particular element that involves huge spoilers. No. I instantly don't care. You know what? You're on your own. See you later. Okay. I'm sitting here. That's a bit of a you know what? Let's just go right into the show. Dun, dun, dun.
From the thrilling pages of life rides a man you must fear and respect. A man whose unconquerable will and boundless determination carved a lusty, rough, and boisterous slice of history called The Searchers.
So today, I'm talking about a movie I've already reviewed. And you can go back and look at that review in the description. I'm going to leave the link so you can go back and see the review and you can know how much I love this film. That is The Searchers, starring John Wayne, directed by John Ford from 1956. It is probably my all-time favorite film. Definitely my all-time favorite Western. It's up there with Unforgiven, which is close. And so Unforgiven is also one of my favorite films. And so I get both those two. But this is one of my absolute favorite films. But now there is a huge question I think we have to ask ourselves when we see this film. There's a detail that is somewhat bewildering. And so here's the deal. I am going to put together a massive spoiler for this film. I'm about to tell you something that will hurt your watching the film if you've never seen the film. So if you haven't seen the film, I recommend maybe not watching this video until you've seen the film. Okay, if you have seen this film, so you're good. You can watch the video, you're fine, you understand exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, and if you haven't seen the film, and you don't intend to watch the film, because you don't like Westerns, you don't like John Wayne, whatever, I don't know why you're watching my channel, it's strange, maybe just like me, that's cool. But if you haven't seen the film, you can go ahead and watch the video. I don't know if you'll quite understand what I'm talking about, but probably not on some level, but let's jump right in, let's go with it, here we go. So, Ethan Edwards, at the end of The Searchers, does not kill his niece after he's promised to for the entire final act of the film. So he vows to kill his niece because she has been ruined by the Comanches, because she's had to marry the chief Comanche Scar, and so now to end his misery and her misery, he is going to kill her regardless of anything else. And for those of you who see the movie, you know he does not do this. He sweeps her up in his arms and takes her home. So why does he take her home? Why doesn't he do what he's vowed to do? Besides the fact that it would have made a very, very depressing ending, and even John Ford wasn't willing to go that way, well, there is a justifiable reason within the context of the film. First, let's talk about Ethan Edwards and who Ethan Edwards is. And he is a very angry character. He is mad at the entire world, makes no bones about that. Now, when most critics talk about the character, their favorite thing to point out is his blatant racism towards Native Americans, and it is out there and it is obvious, and he really hates Indians and makes no bones about his hatreds. Ethan Edwards is kind of a bad guy. He doesn't like anybody, but he also takes time out to mock family and landowning and the Union Army and the Union in general, and there's very little this guy doesn't. He's hard on religion at one point even. I mean, he is a hateful person. Ethan Edwards dislikes the world around him. I mean, part of his reasons he felt like he's failed at everything, right? They talked about before the war, he felt like his ranch was failing. The only woman he loved, clearly from the subtext of the film, was his brother's wife, and he didn't win her. And so he goes off with the Confederacy to fight in the war, and he doesn't win that. He loses that too. So he's been made bitter, and he's angry, and that's the kind of person he is. And so he's mad at the world. And really, the one and only thing he still loves, the only thing he never mocks in the film, is his sister-in-law, whom he truly loves, and her kids. And that's it. That's the only thing he never ever really takes a shot at in the film. You look at what, most of the time this is a very harsh character. He presents everything as it is, as he sees it, and doesn't hold anything back. However, it is the death of his eldest niece that he says he does not want to talk about, that he will never talk about. And he says, don't ever ask me about it. I won't tell you. That's the thing that bothers him. And so when he loses that family early in the part of the film, like the one thing he loves in the whole world is now gone, with the exception of his youngest niece. She's the only person still alive. Hence his 5+ year search for her. Why he doggedly pursues her for 5 years. Why he won't give up for anything to find her. And it's also why he wants to kill her. Because he hates the Comanches, and he is an incredible racist, and man is he ever. And so he feels like what she is living is worse than death, and the fact that she's been ruined by the Comanches. There's a sexual overtone here. Because it's 1956, right, they can't really come out and talk about that. But he feels like she is suffering a fate worse than death, and so he is going to put her out of his misery, because he can't look at her as she's been ruined by the Comanches, by the Chief Scar. And so that's why he's going to kill her. That's why this one thing in the world that he loves, he's got to kill. And so here's this guy, and think what you want of Ethan Edwards. In fact, you can think he's a bad guy. In fact, I think the middle third of the film and the first part of the third act are really geared up to making you not like Ethan Edwards, to make him seem like an angry, bitter character that you don't really want to cheer for, that you do not like. Martin Pauly's the likable character. His played by Jeffrey Hunter, the guy he's traveling with in the searches. That's the likable character. John Wayne's Ethan Edwards is not the likable character. So with all that said, with this bitter, angry person, this deeply disturbed person on some level who feels like he's failed at everything, the one thing he loves has been taken away from him, and the one person he loves still alive has been besmirched to a point where he can't stand anymore, why doesn't he take her life? That is the question. And so let me say a couple things here. One, the moments leading up to her death, to the conflict where he could have killed her, not her actual death, but the moment where he could have killed her, a couple things happen. One, Scar is killed, and not by him. Scar is this focus of his rage, and Martin Pauly killed him, not Ethan Edwards, which is a huge disappointment. Ethan does scalp him, but Ethan didn't get to kill him, and that deprived him of revenge, and somewhat deprived him of his anger to a certain extent, because the focus of his rage is now gone. Scar is now dead. And there's actually a parallel between the three characters. All three of them suffer losses: Martin, Scar, and Ethan. And Scar and Ethan, they respond the same way, with anger and vengeance and destruction. Martin is the opposite. He's the one that holds on to hope, right? He's the one that holds on to what he's got left rather than focusing on what he's lost, where the other two are very focused on what they've lost. And so at this moment, as I'm going through it, Ethan Edwards has lost his revenge. It's gone. Scar is dead, and he was not killed by him. And so now he sweeps down into the valley, past Martin, towards his niece. There she is, and he's got her. Now, in the original script, there was a line here, and John Ford, bless you, John Ford, for never treating your audience like they're stupid. This is the thing I love about John Ford. There was a line here. Ethan Edwards was supposed to say, "You look so much like your mother," and then not kill her and do the whole, and they cut the line. Thank you for cutting that line, because it makes it all the more better for the audience to wonder what it was in his head that made him not kill his niece. Now, I think that's a really obvious answer, that she is like her mother, and that's the love of his life, was her mother. So it'd be hard to kill someone who looked like the love of your life. And on top of that, I think it's John Ford telling us something, sort of giving us one thing here at the end of this film. This film is a very negative film on a lot of levels. It's a very sad, dour film. It's about people who can't let go of the bad things that happen to them, and they so desperately hold on to them, they will literally waste away their lives for 5 years going after something. In Ethan's case, it was revenge, it was anger. But here at the very last moment, he lets go of the anger. He gets so mad. It's like he becomes so enraged. There's no place for the rage to go anymore. It's too much. And he just lets it go. And he grabs onto the one bit of hope he's got left in this world, and that's his niece. The one person in the world, and probably the only person in the whole world he truly loves. There are other people he has some mild respect for. And at this point, he sort of likes Martin. I mean, he's a little still touch and go with the guy, but he likes him well enough because he's been on the search with him for 5 years, and he respects that. But the one person he does love he grabs and he says, here it is. I still love her. I'm not going to kill her because she's all I got. And so it's forward after this incredibly pessimistic film about people saying, but there's still hope and you should hold on to that. And so that's the message I got from the film. And that's why I feel like Ethan Edwards ultimately does not kill his niece, is because he does want to hold on to what little bit of humanity and hope he has left in the world. It's hard for him because he's much more concerned with his losses than what he still has. But he does it, and that's what I always felt like was the ultimate message of the film, is that no matter how bad things are, there might still be something out there, and what there still is, you should hold on to it. That being said, the final scene of the film, for those who've seen the film, of course, once again, the family walks into the house. Ethan Edwards does not walk into the house. He stands there in silhouette, hugs himself to remind you that he's alone. He got the move from Harry Carey. Hugs himself to remind you that he's alone, and turns and walks away. Because even with that one thing, he still feels so detached from society. He still feels like he doesn't belong anywhere. And you can speculate on the fate of the character after the film. Maybe he would ride off, maybe he wouldn't, who knows. Maybe she would be enough to keep him. But so that's how I always felt about the end of the film, and why he doesn't do what he promises to do for a good almost 45 minutes of the film. And I hope you like that reasoning. I hope, in fact, I would love to hear responses on this. I don't know if people have actually seen the movie, how many people have really thought about this hard, but this is one of my favorite movies, so I've thought about it long and hard. So, yeah, there, down below in the comments. So, hey, thanks for listening to me, and I'll see you again on the cinematic range.